My name honors the memory of when I tore my vagina on a Tinder date and needed surgery. Guys, I couldn't make this up if I tried. Welcome to Pretty in Kink. I am here to show you the messy side of life and how beautiful it can be. I believe that all of life is just one big kink, and I want to bring you along on this journey as we explore that. I want to show you the awkward side of sexy, the sweet side of dirty, and I want to show you the beauty in that mess of the thing that we call life itself. I'm Tera Vee. I'm an adult content creator and I'm an awkward girl extraordinaire. I'm not afraid to talk about things that make most people uncomfortable, and so it makes it easier for us to explore the darker side of things. So buckle up, let me be your safe word, and let's go get weird together. And if you enjoy, please follow me on Instagram at Pretty in Kink Podcast, as well as Tera_V. And if you enjoy these episodes, I would love it if you left a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Hello and welcome back to Pretty in Kink. I am so excited to be back for episode 2. You guys were absolutely amazing with the support you gave me with my premiere episode. I cannot thank you enough. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So many of you downloaded the episode, and I can't even begin to explain how that made me feel. So just thank you. So I have decided with episode 2, we would keep things kind of fun. I thought it was only fair that I should continue to introduce myself, right? Because we're going to be talking about like some nitty gritty things around here and getting really personal. And I just want to creep and crawl into your little ear canals and make myself at home and get you to love me. But I can't get you to love me if you don't even know me. So I'm here for you to get to know me a little bit more. And I thought one way that I could do that is to give you the fun story of the origins of the name Tera Vee, the anatomy, if you will, of the name. It is a ridiculous story, you guys. I should probably be embarrassed to tell this story, but I'm not, because in case you haven't figured out yet, like, I don't have much shame in my game, and this story is too good not to share. So gather around, get some popcorn, and get ready for a little story time with Tera Vee. So I needed to come up with an alter ego, if you will. I needed a different name other than my legal name, because when you have all of your stuff online, you don't want all of your stuff online, right? Like, I didn't want to be easily accessible to people. Most people are incredible and they have no ill intentions, but we all watch those crime shows, right? There's that other side of society that's a little strange, a little creepy, and yeah, I needed a different name to go with my naked body online. The catch was, I wanted a real name. I wanted something that wasn't silly sounding, right? Like, you've heard some of the silly porn names. I'm not doing that. I don't want to feel silly with introducing myself. I wanted to actually be able to introduce myself as easily as if I was saying, like, hello, my name is Jane Smith. I wanted something real. I also knew this was a name that was going to stay with me for quite some time. I could quickly see the longevity in what I was doing. So I needed a name. And I did not trust the formulas that you see in memes all over the internet that will tell you if you take the name of your first pet and combine it with the name of the street you grew up on, you will have the perfect porn name. I beg to differ, because if I followed that formula, right now you would be listening to Studsy Martinson. Does that sound good? Studsy Martinson. This is Studsy Martinson hosting your podcast. Absolutely not. That doesn't work. If you're a male dancer, though, like, please take the name, because that's an amazing male dancer name, if I do say so myself. Like, just imagine it. Just put it in your mind's eye. There's a spotlight. You hear an announcer, and he says, "And now, welcome Studsy Martinson." And this big buff guy comes out on stage, all like oiled up and ready to dance his night away. Sounds great, right? So Studsy Martinson gets a line through it. That is crossed off the list. So next up, where do I go? I sit down and I just start doing a brainstorm session and spitballing things. And as I'm doing this, like, all these really silly, stupid names are coming out. And then the name Tara Alexis comes out. Now, Tara Alexis is the name that my mom wanted to name me when I was a baby. And God love my father, he stepped in and he said, "No, my daughter needs to have a name that sounds more Polish." My dad won, thankfully, and I was not named Tara Alexis. And I do apologize to any Tara Alexises that may be out there. Nothing against you personally, it's just not a name for me. However, in this brainstorming session, I died when I first said it out loud, and I thought, oh my God, how funny would this be if I use this name? And then the universe kind of came over and smacked me upside the back of the head and was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You can't use that name. And I quickly realized that as amazing as my mother was, as badass as she was, I do think that would have been the thing that pushed her over the edge. It would be bad enough to say, "Hey mom, by the way, there's porn videos of me online," but then to have to tell her that the name that she always wanted to name me was my stage name. Yeah, the universe was correct that that was a poor decision. So that gets a line drawn through it. That is crossed off the list as well. But I started rolling, and just like from the Tara rolling into other T's, and eventually it evolved into Tera Vee. And I busted out laughing because it references a Tinder date that went horribly wrong, which led to an emergency room visit, which led to emergency surgery. And that is what birthed the name of Tera Vee. Now I want you to listen to the name, Tera Vee. Tera Vee. Do you hear it? Do you want me to give you a little minute? Tera Vee. You got it, right? My name honors the memory of when I tore my vagina on a Tinder date and needed surgery. Guys, I couldn't make this up if I tried. It is the most ridiculous story. This was probably maybe 5 years ago. I had to have a hysterectomy, which is when they remove your uterus. One of the major complications to that surgery is insanely rare, like stupid rare. It also happened to be my worst fear. I read about it. I made the mistake of Googling it. I made the bigger mistake, to look at the images on Google, and yes, new fear unlocked. I was terrified because there is just this horrible complication where the things that they've done can sort of be undone, and the things that are in your belly could want to make an exit out of your vagina. And I will just leave it at that. If you so choose, please go ahead and Google vaginal cuff dehiscence. I don't recommend you do. It's not pretty. Again, insanely rare complication. There's so many different studies, but it's like it goes from like 0.03% to like 0.4% incident rate. It's that rare. Specifically what I had, which was a complete tear. There's your little medical backstory. I have this surgery. I don't feel super confident in the surgery from the start. I just have little minor things that like I don't know, I just don't feel great. I consistently say something's not right. Fast forward to about 5.5 months after my surgery. I go on a Tinder date. Now, it is important to point out, I had never gone on a Tinder date before. I hadn't been on a date in years. I had gotten out of a divorce a couple years prior, had made the decision to stay single and celibate. So I had little dust bunnies kind of chilling out there between my legs. It was ghost town down there. And so I'm really nervous for this date just because it's all new to me. And then in the back of my head, I have that fear of this medical complication. And I feel silly for even being worried because, I'm 5.5 months out from my surgery. So I go on the date. We do Tinder date things. And in the middle of those Tinder date activities, he pipes in and is kind of like, are you on your period? And I said, no, I'm definitely not, because, you can't after a hysterectomy. So I said, no, I'm for sure not. And he was like, oh, okay. I honestly just kind of thought I hadn't had sex in years. I figured I was just bleeding because of that. So we carry on and things just kind of change a little. And he was like, yeah, I think something's going on. And needless to say, my worst fear came true. And I'm not going to give you the nitty-gritty details because it's gross. Use your imagination, but I had the opportunity to see some of my insides outside. And we'll just leave it at that. Now, here's the ridiculous thing, you guys. I don't know what is wrong with me. I must have been in some sort of denial because I hung out for hours afterwards. Hours. I don't know what I was thinking. I wish I could travel back in time and just like take a little seat inside of my mind and just check out what the fuck was going on in there. I don't know why I stayed because I knew immediately. I knew this is not okay. This is bad. I tried to play it kind of cool for the sake of the Tinder date, but I knew. He tried to feed me dinner and there was no way I was going to eat because I knew that I was going to be going into surgery that night. And as I say that, I find it even more hilarious that I made the decision not to eat, knowing surgery was coming, and yet I still just hung out. I just chilled out on his couch. He gave me a bag of frozen vegetables of some sort to like put on my abdomen because I was a little bit sore. We just hung out, and after a couple hours, I started feeling the pain, and the pain is like radiating from inside, and I know, like, my time has come. I have got to go. So finally, I leave. I'm Googling, like, where's the closest emergency room? I am so lucky that where this date was really close to a trauma hospital. So I ended up with an amazing surgeon. So I go to this hospital. I roll into the ER. And again, I don't know what I'm thinking, but I'm not like pushing it with the staff and being like, hey, we have a major problem. I roll in laughing. I am walking like fairly upright. And I'm telling them, like, guess what? I know you guys always have that one story from the weekend that's super entertaining. Here is your story. Are you guys ready? I was on a Tinder date. We had sex. And now my vagina is broken. P.S. You might want to know I had a hysterectomy about 5.5, 6 months ago, and I'm having I know I've torn my cuff, which is what it's called, where they sew you shut inside. But I am laughing, joking, having fun. So I don't think anybody took me very seriously. And again, it's such a rare complication that I'm sure they didn't even think like that could be what is happening. So finally, they get me in an exam room. Somebody examines me, and he was like, "Nope, you look good." And I said, "Okay, find me another doctor." And he said, "No, everything looks good." And I said, "I don't care what you say. I know I'm not good. Get me another doctor. I want somebody else to examine me." They bring in another doctor. He examines me, and immediately his little head pops up from up between my legs and looks at me like he has seen a ghost. And I looked at him and I was like, did you just get a peek up inside my entire insides? And he just kind of stared at me, and I said, "You just saw my intestines, didn't you?" And he looked at me and he said, "You're going into surgery, right?" And I said, "No, I'm aware." And he said, "No, I don't know if you understand. Like, you're going to be in surgery within an hour. We need to get the surgeon here now." And I said, "No, I am so very aware. I just, I'm going to have a meltdown if I try and process this. So I'm aware, but I'm going to carry on pretending like nothing's happening." So surgeon appears. She yells at me because I am laughing and having fun, and she was like, I don't think that you understand the severity of what is going on here. I don't know if you understand how major this is and how serious this is." And I said, "I 1000% understand. I promise you, I understand. But the moment I stop laughing, I am going to freak the fuck out because I don't want another surgery. This was my worst fear. I don't want complications from this. I'm starting to feel really embarrassed and I'm starting to hurt. So, no, I'm going to keep having fun and hide behind my humor. Thank you so much." And that was that. So I go into surgery, having fun the whole way until I got to the OR. I think the moment they started wheeling me into the room, all of the pain started really hitting me, and they got me in the OR and they asked me if I could transfer myself to the table, and I thought I could, and I tried, and immediately said, "Oh no, I cannot." So, they have all the techs come and you're on a sheet and they just take the whole sheet to slide you over. And as soon as they moved the sheet, it was like an explosion of pain and I passed the fuck out. And I woke up the next morning in a hospital room where all of the nurses were so excited when I woke up so they could all gather around and listen to the story of the girl that went on a Tinder date and then had her insides just totally blown out. So that, my friends, is where the name Tera Vee came from my torn vagina. Literally. It's such a horrible story. So bad, but how can I not share that? And just knowing that that is what this name came from, I don't know why, but I find it hilarious. I think the Tinder date is still walking around to this day thinking that his macho penis ripped me open and caused me to have surgery. We'll let him have that. He can have that. It's not the case. It was the final straw. This was a slow burn. I was having complications for the months leading up to it, and about a month before the surgery, the emergency surgery, I had moved my home and I did all of the moving on my own. So I did a ton of heavy lifting. And when the move was done, I started feeling like abdominal pain and I had spotted a little bit of blood. And I had called my doctor and voiced concerns, and they said, no, you are far enough away from your surgery date. You should be fine. That shouldn't be an issue at all. They never wanted to examine me. They just were like, no, you're fine. And I think that move was one of the final like pushes that really started the tear. And then I think sex was like the final like, let's pop this sucker open. The origins of Tera Vee. There you have it. Friends, be careful out there on your Tinder dates, because you never know where you may end up. Story time over. I hope you enjoyed the story. I am so happy that I am able to sign off of this episode as Tera Vee and not Studsy Martinson. And I hope you're happy about that too. I hope I didn't gross you guys out too much. And I hope I entertained you. And I hope you enjoy that little bit of insight into my name. You guys all now are in on the private joke as well. So welcome to the club. Episode 2 is complete. Stick around for some bloopers because they will be at the end of this episode, because I am the queen of fucking up and I'm never afraid to admit it. There will always be bloopers. If a day comes where there isn't any bloopers, I hereby request that you all flood my DMs with congratulatory messages, because that will be a thing to celebrate. Until that day comes, enjoy the bloopers. I will see you guys next time, and until then, stay weird. I was on a different path than I am now. My cat is about to cock block this. Rebecca. Psst. Yo, do not. Bitch, I see what you're about to do. Not, don't. Anyways, this outro isn't gonna work because I don't know what to do with an outro.